Welcome to this special top secret New World Order edition of Show Us Your Crits. My name is James Carpio. I'm one of the designers on the new top secret New World Order RPG, also known as Agent Incubus, as one of the design team members. We got a communication from our field agents who are a little unsure or confused about some of the rules. So what I'm doing here today is going to go over some of the rules, talk a little bit about them, and hopefully clarify some of the things that maybe some are a little uneasy with. All right, so if I seem to be looking down or elsewhere, I'm looking at my handy dandy clipboard here. Let's go ahead and start with Agent Lasnik. So Agent Lasnik asks about car chases. Well, Agent Lasnik, we will be talking about car chases in another episode. Actually, I want to do something with some props and a little bit more flair to really go ahead and nail down the car chase rules. So my apologies. By the way, I did happen to meet Agent Lasnik at TotalCon earlier this year. Great guy, and thank you for playing with us. It was fun. Next up is Agent Taylor, who asks, are agents proficient in every skill? And then he goes on to ask about skill groups that they specialize in. They use a higher tradecraft for die resolution. And so the answer is correct. So all Icon agents get training when they join. And basically this grants them a base ability with everything they do. So, and also agents come from every walk of life. So criminals, actors, scientists, also come from other intelligence agencies. So they will actually sometimes come in with skills beyond what they're trained in Icon boot camp, as it were. So if you have an agent who was a cryptographer early in his career, so say he came from, or he or she came from the CIA or NSA, MI6, and they did cryptography, well, that would be a skill that would be very predominant when they came over to Icon. So this is where we kind of get into tradecraft and specialized skills. So specialized skills are something that are more fine-tuned than the average tradecraft, and therefore they're going to get a step up or one die higher on it. But agents are pretty much proficient in everything. The idea behind tradecraft is that they're broad strokes that people or agents can go ahead and pretty much do all kinds of cool things. They're not particularly limited. However, there are things that they are better at. All right. Agent Taylor also asks for an example of combat. And the same thing with car chases. I will do another video that will talk more to combat, start getting into how action points work, and just kind of lay it on a table with minis and everything. It'll be really cool. Trust me. Explain it here or trying to explain it in this short video is definitely not going to give you the full experience of that. Agent Taylor's last question has to do with the swimming specialized skill that actually appears in the write-up on the first printing. I think it was page 87. So yes, there was a specialized swimming skill listed there. However, it didn't, for whatever reason, layout got clipped. So our apologies. I know we mentioned it, and you go, "Hey, where is it?" What I would suggest that if you really wanted to add that into your game, you can either do it as just adding an additional specialized skill and finding a location under it. If you wanted to, you could definitely do create proficiencies under it and make swimming or combat swimming something that you would have or add to your character. Again, the game is meant to be very broad strokes, and this would just allow you to create something for yourself. We now go on to Agent Shock. Agent Shock asks us about Appendix A. So initially, when everything was kind of being laid out, Appendix A was going to have the NPC archetypes. I know it is written in there, but please ignore that. Actually, if you look at the area right before Appendix A, you're going to find all your NPC archetypes. And the question after that was, well, can I use these NPC archetypes as PCs? Yes and no. Well, actually, yes, all the way yes. They are. They were created actually as pre-gen con characters. We had tweaked them over the various play tests, but if you've been to a con like Gary Con or Gamehole, North Texas RPG, or Total Con, the characters you've played with are based on the NPC archetypes. The one suggestion I would have for any administrator out there is that if you want to use the NPC archetypes as PCs, tone it down a little bit. They are very powerful. Or if you decide to use them as is, make sure that any opponents are based on that same stock, because otherwise you're going to have a huge balance issue with that. The next question is swimming skills. And if there was a swimming skills, what should the proficiency be? If someone wanted to train in anything like that, I would initially just go to the Tradecraft combat. So if you want to have someone who's doing some, athletic swimming or things like that, combat is just definitely a great place for it. It's really about your manual dexterity and your agility and your reflexes, how you do things. However, if you want to, you could go ahead and create your own specialized skill. And I think I talked about this a little bit with Agent Taylor's question, is create your specialized skill up here at you can put combat training or just call it swimming, and then underneath it you could have like athletic swimming, deep sea diving, shark combat, whatever you want. So again, very flexible system, really allow you to kind of do the game that you want to do. Agent Shock, next question is, what specialized skill would I use for riding a horse or any other sort of animal? Again, this is a great opportunity. We didn't include anything like that in the game and the core rules just because it wasn't something we felt that couldn't be handled by a tradecraft skill, right? So again, you can always go to combat if you want to go do some serious horseback riding. You can even go down to human if you want to have it like I communicate with the horse or calm it down. So there's many ways you can attack that. But again, if you want to create your own skill for animal handling, that's great. And then underneath there, you can have the proficiencies of horseback riding. You can have the proficiencies of lion taming. I mean, the world is your oyster. So just open it up and, go for it. Last up, Agent Shock asks, wouldn't it be cool to see someone create a general animal handling skill set? This kind of goes back to your last question, because again, if you want to have something like animal handling, it's not too far-fetched to just go ahead and create the category for that. Again, so go with animal handling, go with however you want to do it. If you wanted to put it in as far as tradecraft terms go, I would highly suggest, again, depending on what you're doing. If you're trying to teach a dog how to attack, combat would be your tradecraft. If you're trying to do something, say, be the dog whisperer, then definitely human would probably fall under that category. All right, let's move on. We have, I'm going to go ahead and redact this here, so aka put it in my trash pail. Next up, we have Agent Macintosh. Agent Macintosh asks, should there be a table to show what die you use for language level? Well, yes. Actually, I think it's on page 23. There is a die roll. It's a D10, and it's going to show you what your proficiency is in that particular language. So that is already there, if that's what you're asking. Yeah, and if you roll a d10 and that determines proficiency, how do I determine what die this translates into? It's right there. So say if you roll a 5 or a 6, that's going to be an advanced language, and you're going to get a d8. So it's in the chart. Just definitely take a second look. It will have the die stat. And the last question is, not Agent Macintosh's last question, but the next question to follow up with that is, well, what if I had an agent who is from Switzerland, or if I had one from Canada, and they speak multiple languages? How do I handle that? Well, there's a couple of ways of doing that. Obviously, you may want to just roll really high so you can get that language. So, with Top Secret New World Order, your first language is considered to be your dominant language. So, you might speak two, you might speak French and English, but depending on what you were taught primarily, and I know there are people out there and agents who would be able to know things equally as well. But yeah, so you definitely would want to roll high or talk to your administrator. Your administrator might be, sympathetic to your idea and want to go ahead and say, hey, yeah, no, you don't have to roll. Let's go ahead and just pick how many languages you get, and then we can use your two primaries, however they want to see fit. However, it would be our suggestion, at least as the designers, is that if you're going to go ahead and give them the bonus of, say, having two first languages, or changing the way the language system works as far as rolling to see how many proficiencies you have, what languages, definitely you might want to think about a penalty to that. So something just to balance it out. And again, if you're good with that, then like I said, it's your game. Let's see. Will there be a system for adding animals into the game? This is Agent Macintosh's last question. So I will actually answer that with sort of a funny story. When we were going ahead and doing the initial design for Top Secret New World Order, Merle Rasmussen, the administrator, had submitted to us, I think it was like 4 or 5 different pages, double-sided, of all the animals across the world and their asset die and the type of damage they did. It was an amazing piece. It did not make it into the core rules. It just, at the time when we were trying to figure out what would be the best route to go with that, we thought perhaps maybe later on down the road as a supplement. So if this is something you want to see in, say, a Top Secret New World Order companion, or in maybe one of our future modules, let us know. Definitely speak up, and we're definitely listening. Right now, as far as it goes, you can reach out to us via Kickstarter or Facebook. There's a Top Secret fan page there. I don't believe it's open to everybody, but if you are one of those people who belong to that group, definitely reach out through there, or just as a Kickstarter backer, go ahead onto the comments page. I will say, though, that we are working on a centralized place for all agents to put in their intel and their field reports, so hang with us, and that should be available to you soon. All right, next up is Agent Buckus or Bucus. So if I mispronounce your name, Agent, I apologize. So the question is, how does one handle initial specialization allocation if a player wants to start with a fighting style? All right, so simply put, when you go ahead and, so you have your Tradecraft and you can put points into a specialized style. So you'll want to go ahead first and make sure that you have hand-to-hand combat. So that's going to be 1 point. And if you want to put the rest of your points, so if you have 5 initially, you can spend the 1 in hand-to-hand and put the other 4 into hand-to-hand styles. But hand-to-hand combat does not automatically give you a free fighting style. Those have to be bought with initial points or mission points once you're already out on the field working. But it depends. So you can spend all your points and become like the super martial art master agent if you don't want to go ahead and take any other specializations. Remember, Tradecraft covers everything, so you're always going to be able to do something. You're never going to be in a situation where your agent is not going to be able to give something a try. It's specializations, though, that actually give you that leg up, or that boost to your dice stat. But don't feel that you need to have... So if you want to create the martial artist, create the martial artist, and that's what it's there for. And we have a lot of cool fighting styles to choose from. All right. And just a note to specialized skills. They can begin... Basically, they can only begin at 1 step up. So when you take it... so if you have a D8 in that Tradecraft, you're going to have a D10. You can't double up in the beginning to give yourself a higher rating than that. But just thought that should be mentioned. Next question is if a character already has one or more standard D4 Tradecraft ratings from abilities, can that character select one of those as a weakness at no penalty? Or should that particular D4 Tradecraft weakness be nerfed somehow? And the answer is you can't. The answer is no. So you must select a Tradecraft that's a D6 or higher if you want to make it a weak stat. You can't have a 0 die type for a Tradecraft rating. Basically, they'd probably kick you out of the Icon boot camp for that. So the answer is no. And last up, we have Agent Orabona, or Orabana. So again, apologies, Agent, if I've mangled your last name. The question is that they're saying they're slowly making a character to see how this works. And if, for like example, is this like Star Frontiers, where you have a main skill and then sub-skills underneath it? You have your Tradecraft, as kind of mentioned. So those are your core skills. Those are your broad strokes across all your skills. And then you have a specialized skill if you wish to go ahead and make a particular area of that stronger, of that Tradecraft. But you also have proficiencies underneath that. So you can go straight Tradecraft. You can specialize in a skill to go ahead and get the one up, right? Again, making maybe agent with a Tradecraft of human in a D6 now can take something like communications at a D8, right? And then underneath that, they're going to have proficiencies. So not particularly like Star Frontiers. There's no such thing as like a skill or a sub-skill, but you definitely have specialized skills and proficiencies. And that's it. My clipboard is empty. Again, please keep the questions coming. I'll try to do more of these communications with our field agents just to make sure that they're running along fine and don't run in any snags when they're undercover or in dangerous situations. And thank you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart and TSR for purchasing Top Secret New World Order. We're very proud of the game, and we really want to make it something special. We have a lot of things in mind coming up in the future to improve and add more to the game. We also have a lot of third-party writers and publishers who are also joining in and really strengthening the brand. So again, thank you. So that is it for now. Again, as I said, my name is James Carpio. You can find me on most of the Top Secret related forums on Facebook. I will try to answer things on Kickstarter as I can. And once we have our centralized place to go, I'll be there making sure that all communications are up to date and ready to go. So again, thank you and have a good day.